Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I am Courtney Scales. I'm the Marketing Manager for the Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here to run you through how to create emails that actually work. CCIQ has teamed up with our partners and members to offer a webinar series, Getting Back to Business, which provides businesses with a variety of tools and resources to help you get back on your feet. But before we start, if you want to ask a question, you can do so at any time during the webinar using the chat box that appears at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Email is one of the most profitable marketing channels, and for a good reason. It is one of the most easy channels to set up and to optimize, allowing you to test everything, working your way to success. This webinar is here to help you understand how email can save you time, money, and engage with your customers in better ways than before. In the first half of the webinar, I'll do a demonstration or run through of some essentials in email marketing to help you understand the fundamentals. And in the second half, I'll do a live demo and run through of MailChimp. MailChimp is one of the most popular email marketing tools for small businesses. Just to help take away some of the stress that comes up with setting up a new system, and just to show you how easy it can be. Having a great system really helps you to focus on the content and target the right people at the right time. So let's get started. All right. Oh. Yep, there we go. Having a bit of trouble there. Okay, so let's start with the power of email. Let's break down the why, who's, and hows of email marketing. Why email? You can use it for so many different reasons, but ultimately, email is a way for you to communicate with your customers at different stages of their customer journey. Do you see the who column in the middle? That's an example of a simple customer journey. Somebody might sign up to your newsletter to learn more about your business before they buy, and then based on their engagement level and interaction with you online, for example, they fill out a contact form, they attend an event, they download a guide or abandon a cart, they then become a prospect or a lead. Understanding that this person is now positioned for a sale, you're then able to target them with new messaging that nudges them towards a sale, whether that be a phone call, retargeting them through social or display ads online, search engine marketing, or another type of email, which is what we'll touch on today. Once that person does buy and is a repeat customer, you would want to speak to them differently than if they were just a subscriber, yeah? You want to give them that extra love and attention. That's where the segmentation comes in handy. So, segmentation, the who. It's really important that you do segment your email lists. Why? Well, you don't want to run the risk of sending the wrong content to the wrong people. What do I mean by that? Well, say you're a consulting business looking to promote your services. You don't want to send a promotional email to your most recent clients. They're already working with you. It's best to segment your audience and send two separate emails. One to your prospective customers with your promotion, and a second to your existing clients with a request for a referral so you can create new prospects. Segmentation is a really powerful tool when it comes to creating personalized emails for your audience. The more info you can gather about your audience, the better power you have over your data to segment and provide value where it counts. Different people are at different stages of their customer journey with you, and providing that extra level of care in your communications can have a really significant impact on their perceptions of you. How can you use email? Well, the fantastic thing about email is it can be used in so many diverse and creative ways. The most common, of course, is a newsletter. Many businesses use a weekly or fortnightly newsletter to update customers on sales, news, need-to-knows about your industry or your business. If you're looking to focus on lead gen, the use of downloadables are highly effective tools to inform prospects about a problem that your business helps to solve and provide value before the sale. Email can save you money by saving you time and effort, and also helping to build brand loyalty and keep customers engaged for longer. It is said that the average attention span of a consumer online is at most 8 seconds. I would hazard a guess and say it's a little bit less than that nowadays. Keeping this in mind, it's important to make sure that you're able to effectively communicate your messaging in an email. This is why the power of language is so important and sets apart the good emails from the bad. In writing your email, it is important to be ruthless with your editing. Strip your words back to their bare essentials and then add your flourishes if necessary. It can be difficult in the beginning to convey emotion or to communicate your brand style and voice, which is why it does take a bit of practice to get right. No one's going to get it right on the first try. In sending out your comms, gather feedback from your existing customers about how effective they think your emails are. It can tell you a lot about your target audience and how they consume content, and it'll also give you constructive feedback to improve. A big question that I get asked a lot is when to send out emails and what time of day. To be completely honest with you, there's no perfect answer. It is all trial and error. However, in saying this, there's some pretty compelling evidence that shows consistently year on year that people are better engaged in the middle of the week and around food times or break times than they are in the beginning of the week and on the weekend. There's of course exceptions to this rule, particularly if you're in a B2C business and you're having a timely sale or there's a sense of urgency to your comms. I do suggest starting out to use the industry benchmark frameworks. I'll provide you guys with links to where you can find these at the end of the webinar, and then test until you see a difference in your success measures. Another question that I get asked a lot is how many emails is too much? Look, to be honest, it depends on the type of content that you're sending, but as a general rule, do try to keep it less than 3 a week. 1 a week would be great. But if you're an organization like CCIQ with so many moving parts and a requirement to provide updates on legislation and the state of the state as it happens, then more emails might have to work for you. Speaking of success measures, let's talk stats. There are 4 main statistics that you need to care about when looking at the success rate of your email. I say this and not including the obvious, which is obviously a sale. Once you have a good understanding of these, then you're better able to test and optimize the content and analyze through these stats. There are 4 measures of success. Sorry, having a bit of a cough here, to email marketing. But just to get started, you'll just need these 4. So your open rate. This is how many people opened your email. Pretty simple, right? When you're testing out different times of the day and different days of the week to send out your comms, this stat is the most important to let you know whether you're onto a winner or to try again. Your click-through rate. Okay, so you've got somebody's attention in your subject line and they've clicked on and opened your email. Now, how well did they actually engage with the content? Industry benchmarks vary greatly for this stat. I suggest that you just start measuring your own content, benchmark against yourself, and then improve from there. Your click-through rate depends heavily on the type of content that you're sending out. You'll probably see higher rates of click-throughs the less calls to action or links, to click away from your email that you have. As when we receive too many links to click through to, our brains sometimes goes, okay, too hard, I'll deal with it later, and rarely do we ever come back to it. Deliverability. Okay, so this one's really important with regards to your database. If you're finding that less than 80% of your emails are getting delivered, you're going to have to take a good look at your database and either remove the contacts that aren't receiving your emails or contact your customers or subscribers to get them to update. This might have to be a phone call or some other way that you can get in touch with them. And then finally, your unsubscribe rate. This is probably one of the biggest measures of success, particularly with respect to that what's in it for me factor. If your unsubscribe rate is sitting above 3%, you want to take a good look at your messaging. You might find that what you're communicating isn't necessarily what your audience has signed up to hear from you. If you are finding that you have a high unsubscribe rate, what I do recommend doing is have a look at your website and your socials. So, anywhere that you've got messaging that sits online, and look at how the messaging that you got in your email compares to what else you're putting out online. If there is a disparity there, you find that might be causing, a bridge in communication between your customers or your subscribers. Okie dokie. So 3 automations that you need to set up if you haven't already. By hooking up your email marketing platform to your website, you can create some really neat automations that will save you time, and it'll also bring you in more leads. When someone subscribes, you want to welcome them into the community and encourage them to explore more and learn more about what it is that you do. This might include, getting them to join you on socials, receiving a first purchase discount, sending them a handy guide, or offering them a complimentary consultation. The more value that you provide to them upfront, the more likely somebody is to purchase from you. Say your subscriber receives a guide and then decides to learn more by visiting a specific page on your website. You'd want to nurture them through this and provide them with additional info about the content that they're interested in. This is how retargeting works. For example, if your customer visited, say, your services page more than once, send them an email with more info about what it is you do and what your business is about, and a customer testimonial. Proof that the pudding is as good as it looks. Then if your subscriber actually does make a purchase, once they've paid the invoice or paid online or received their product or service, send them a follow-up to gather feedback about their experiences so that you can improve on your value offering. Creating a simple survey in SurveyMonkey is a really easy way to do this, and they've even got templates for feedback to help you get started. All right, so checklist in setting up your first email. This is a solid 8-step process in making sure that you've got all of your bases covered in writing your emails. I use this checklist today in every email that I try and send out, and so does our team. You'll notice in this webinar that I'm not providing copy tips to you. This is because every business is so different. What would work for one is not going to work for another, and I don't want you to feel as though you need to adhere to one style of writing that is better than another. What I mean by this is that some businesses might find success with emails that are 300 or 600 words long, that take the time to make a connection about a particular problem that you're aiming to solve for the customer. Others might need to rely on imagery to communicate value and their brand voice. Just on imagery, I want to touch on stock images and versus your own images. If you are using stock images, please try and find images that don't look too stocky. You'll know what I'm talking about when you see it. Stock imagery is really just there to support your own content. You don't want to make it the main piece that draws eyes in. And then if you're using your own imagery, please make sure that you're using high resolution images. Email banner images are normally 600 pixels in width. And if your image is blurry when you pop it into your email or isn't 600 pixels wide, you need to find a new one. Low res imagery reflects really poorly on your brand and it makes you look unprofessional. You don't want to spend all this time working on your words and have it fall over if your imagery doesn't reflect your copy. It's very much a case-by-case basis, on how you want to structure your email. I do highly recommend that you do your research and you get feedback from your co-workers, friends, and family before you send out your comms. I like to think about email as I approach cooking. The more love, care, and effort that you put into your communications, the happier everyone is when you experience it. As when we do the demo, I just want to state that we won't have time to go through the minute detail of email structure. The purpose is to show you the flexibility and the simplicity. MailChimp has a number of awesome templates that can help guide you to get you started, and I'll touch on these, which forms the basis for some really great content structures. So when you do go and explore on your own, you're better able to navigate and find your favorite. All right, so there is a little bit of homework that I do want you to do after this webinar. Firstly, I want you to do some research. So in your own personal inbox or your work inbox, you might find that there's some communications that you're subscribed to that you love what they're doing, you think it's great. I would save these in a folder and also, find emails online best practice newsletter, best practice lead generation emails. There's so many awesome examples online that other people have done before us, and it's great to take inspiration from what they're doing. I would also check out Pinterest. Pinterest is a really great way to get ideas on design and structure. And also, and as much as we all hate to do it, check out your competition, see what they're up to, and see what they're doing and if it works, and if you can, borrow some of those ideas as well. And as I mentioned earlier, find your industry benchmarks so that when you do start to send out your comms, you're able to figure out, where you kind of sit in the scheme of things. Again, all these links will be provided to you after the webinar. Okie dokie. So let us go in to MailChimp and get started. So this is MailChimp here. I have just created a demo account called Courtney's Flowers, and I just want to run you through firstly the boring bits, and then we can get into how to create the email. I do want to touch on the boring bits first, just because it's important that you do this stuff before you get started. It'll save you a lot of headache and time investment in the future. And if you just get it over with and rip the band-aid off, it'll be better for everyone. So trust me. All right. So first of all, what you're wanting to do is you're wanting to go into your account and set up all of your details in here. There's, a few different things that you want to go through. There's some settings to, if you want to add in new people and update your contact information. This all has to be done before you send out your comms. An important one that I want you to make sure that you do is to verify your domain. This is your from address. So, if you're using a Gmail, you can hook it up to that. Whatever email server that you're currently using, you need to hook it up to MailChimp. You can call your tech support to do this for you. MailChimp has some awesome resources to help you self-DIY, and most email platforms also have this documentation too. So I just recommend doing a quick Google and seeing if you're able to self-serve. But yeah, as I mentioned, there's even a little chat box here to help you do it. You're not going to be the first ones that has trouble with this, and they're able to help you along the way. So it's important to connect up your domain, upload your data. So if you've already got a database of people, make sure that it's clean, before you input it, and, upload everything as a CSV file. There's extras like APIs and stuff like that. Just to get started, I wouldn't worry about it. The one thing that I would touch on after filling in your details and verifying your domain is hooking it up to your website. There's some really easy, quick integrations that you're able to do here. And as you can see, I've already integrated with my Facebook. It was just a 2-click setup to integrate, and it's very similar for most e-commerce websites. You'll see here that the big ones are listed. Again, if you are having trouble, you are able to contact MailChimp support, and they're able to help you with this, as well as your e-commerce provider. They'll be able to help you too. All right, so you've done all the boring stuff, you've hooked it all up, it's all ready to go, it's all just sitting there. Now we want to get to creating. So to come through, this little thing will pop up just to create your email, and it'll suggest, to put in a campaign name. I'm just going to type in test campaign, and we'll go begin. MailChimp is super intuitive to use. Both my parents own small businesses, and they're using it, and they have absolutely no troubles at all. It is a really awesome platform for people of all shapes and sizes to use, and it's a great, training wheels to get you started before you want to move on to more advanced marketing automation or email marketing. When you are setting up your email, you've uploaded your database, you want to figure out who you're sending it to, and that's where that segmentation comes in handy. Who are you sending it from? If you don't have your domain hooked up, you won't be able to send it from you, there will be extra promotions that MailChimp will put into your email as well that you want to get rid of. Subject line. Now, the subject line is really important. MailChimp will give you some suggestions on, how to write the perfect subject line, keeping it between 80 to 160 characters, so shorter than a tweet is important. If you want to add in emojis, of course you're more than welcome to. Some businesses that doesn't work for, such as ours, but having it to be as engaging and to the point as possible is the best way that you're going to get somebody to open your email initially. So I would suggest doing the subject line last, and being really ruthless with this, and getting feedback on that before you do send out your email. All right, so you go into the content. Let's go in and have a look at some different designs that you can choose from. It's really, really easy to get started with this, and there's some awesome templates that MailChimp have put together over the years, and categorize them so that you don't have to do all the hard work. So there's some featured ones that they've got up in here with different layouts, as you can see, and they've kind of, categorized them in the different, communication styles that they've put together. Or you can even go, basic and just work off, the different styles that they have. To be honest with you, it's totally up to you with how you want to format your email, based on the communication that you want to display. I will cover off just a little bit later on some of the quick things that you need to make sure that you do have in your email. I've just set up a really simple template to show you guys. But again, when you are going to create your email, it's important to create a template so that when you are going to create your emails into the future, it saves you all that lead work in, putting together the right branding, get the colors right fonts, right logos, all that sort of jazz. You've done the hard work. Now you can just focus on the content, which is the most important part. All right. So MailChimp has got together a whole bunch of different themes that you can choose from, which is really cool. Most email marketing platforms will have a bunch of templates to help you get started. I like to have a play and choose a few different ones when I'm setting up my first template, so that I can find what works for me and what works for the brand. You might think that, say, this email works really nicely for you, but once you get into it and you add your own branding and styling onto it, it might not work. So it's always good to have a bit of a play, and just test and see what works for you. You'll see here that some of these say upgrade to use. Now, MailChimp is free for up to, I believe, 6,000 subscribers. They might have reduced it, which is, more than enough for most small businesses to get started with. And then obviously they have paid options going forward. I believe that you do have to upgrade, to one of their plans if you want to use more of their advanced templates, but, their pricing is pretty cheap. And as I mentioned, most email marketing providers will have templates for you to use as well. All right, so once you've selected your template, then you're able to go in and edit your email. I've just created test flowers, which is a really simple test template for us to get started. And I just wanted to walk you through, the structure of an email and just a few essentials that you need to make sure that you have when putting your emails together. All right, so first things first, you'll see here, I've got my little love heart logo up the top. Please make sure that you do have your logo included on your email. You want to be making sure that you're pushing, your brand out there in every piece of communication that you have so that people can distinguish you from the rest of the pack. If you want to put your business name here, spell it out, you're able to, or a subject line or another call to action. It depends what you want to do, but I do recommend you having a big statement or a title at the top of your email to draw people's eyes in and make them aware of what you're trying to communicate to them. This is an example of just a stock image that I found online. You'll notice that it's really soft and it just is there to complement and balance the design of the rest of my content. It's not there to be the main draw card into what someone is going to engage with you. That was what I was talking about a little bit earlier with the stock imagery. You know, if you are using stock, then it's best to use something a little bit more soft, that'll help to complement your copy so that people are focusing on your words rather than your images, and stopping people from, you know, moving away. All right, so in your copy, this is, you know, one structure of an email. We covered off a bunch of different structures in the templates that were provided earlier. This is where you want to firstly describe, you know, the what's in it for me factor, and what makes what you're trying to provide to them, you know, better than the rest. And, you know, so you've described, you know, the main features and benefits of, you know, whatever you're trying to communicate with your audience. It's important to keep a really simple call to action here. See how it's, you know, big and centered in the middle of the page. If I was to look at this on mobile, which, you know, you're able to do really easily in the preview section, you want to make sure that people are able to see this and quickly click on it, and not bogged down with a whole bunch of other links for people to click away from. And you'll notice the balance between this big block here, and, you know, there's links away here, but I haven't put them in, you know, big buttons. I've made them a lot less in your face so that it really directs people towards this action here. And just on that, you want to make sure that you keep your call to action really simple, and that you're not overcomplicating it. The harder you make it for the customer to achieve your goal, the less likely you're going to get people clicking through, and, you know, doing what you want them to do, whether it be to, you know, register an event, you know, buy a product, you know, contact you, whatever it is. Now you'll see over here, there's a bunch of styling things that you can go through. There's all of your colors. Hex is how, you know, online reads color. I would recommend that you make sure that if you don't know your hex codes or your RGB codes, which is, that's also how images appear online. If you don't know them, try and find out. Or if you're not too sure, there's a lot of, you know, free websites online that can pull out your brand colors and give you your hex code. Canva does this for you. I would highly recommend using Canva if you're not a designer and you're looking to create, you know, some nice imagery for your emails. It's really simple and easy to use, and I believe that Canva is integrated with MailChimp, so it just makes it even easier to just push and pull those images in and out of each platform. There's a lot of standard web fonts that that is on display here. You know, these are a lot, you know, pretty easy to get you started. If you are looking to upload custom fonts, you're able to do that, and there's a lot of documentation online that helps you to do this. So when you're putting together your template, that's what I was talking about a little bit earlier, do all of this stuff up front. It'll save you so much time and energy, so you don't have to keep doing it over and over again. Also, make sure that you do add in, you know, mobile styling. Styling for mobile is really, really important. And if you don't have your socials in there, I highly recommend that you do have your socials, or at least links away to your website, or for contact details. There's some, you know, out of the box ones that come in the social follow, and there's drop downs. There's so many that MailChimp have provided for us to, you know, use, as every business is different and we all use different channels. So there's heaps here to get you started. Just on the styling, you know, once you want to click out of it, you just save and close, and then you're back to where you started. If you're wanting to add in, you know, image groups or content, it's all just really drag and drop. It's so easy. And if you do have your website hooked up to MailChimp, then you are able to add in your products, which just makes it even easier for you to be able to create these emails even quicker than you had previously. All the product emails are dragged in from your e-commerce website. You know, say you're using WordPress, that's a good example of a website that's really well integrated with MailChimp, and Shopify. You know, most of them are nowadays, as you guys saw when we were doing the setup. So put together your email, you are ready to go. What you want to do next is you want to continue and you want to go into testing. Okay, well, it doesn't like me, does it? You can then go into preview mode here. You can skip past. This will allow you to see how it works for mobile, whether, you know, the scaling's right. You'll also be able to see what it looks like in the inbox as well, which is pretty cool. You won't be able to see this here because I didn't put in a subject line. And also this is something that is provided to paying users as well. So, you know, bit of a bummer there, but what can you do? What you can do to get around that is send a test. So you can just send it to your email address or to your friend's email address, co-workers, and that way you can figure out what it looks like in the inbox and just get around from, you know, having to pay if you're not looking to do that to start off with. You're able to also include instructions in here if you wanted people to fill out the form, test all the links. I highly recommend you test all the links before you send, particularly if you're doing a newsletter and you have you know, more than 10 links in there. It's really easy to get jumbled, particularly say if you're, you know, duplicating content like this, then you know, you might forget to hyperlink you know, your new image. Please do test all your links, it's really important. You can push it to your mobile, and there's a few other options that you're able to do. Now, if you decide that you're unhappy with your content, you're able to switch templates or even to save this design as a template. So, you know, if you're working on a new email and you really love what you've done, you're then able to save it as a template so you can use it for emails in the future. It's very, very simple to do. And once you continue through, then you're able to go back and test and make sure you've got your audience right, and then send from there. And then once you do send out your campaign, you're able to then head over to the campaigns tab and see how your engagement metrics go. Because I obviously haven't sent out campaigns before, it's not going to give me the stats for my results, but they will normally show up here. All right, so that's how you put together an email. It's pretty simple. The way that MailChimp works, everything's drag and drop and really flexible. So if you're not a designer, you don't have to worry about getting all the HTML right and all the stylings, which just bogs you down and takes away from the important part, which is the content. And finally, I just want to touch on the automation. So I talked about those simple automations in my slides earlier. You know, MailChimp has some really great ones that they have, you know, out of the box. You know, the welcome to the new subscribers that I mentioned earlier, you know, following up on purchases and retargeting site visitors. I recommend you try these to start off with. Please test all of your emails and automations before you do go live with them, because you want to make sure that the wrong people aren't receiving them. That's, you know, key one to learn there. And, you know, you're going to make mistakes. Everybody does. So if you do, just be prepared. It's, you know, part of the activity. There's a lot of extra automations that you're able to do. There's also, you know, APIs that you're able to trigger based upon different events that happen in, say, if you're integrating with an app or, you know, your website. But these are a little bit more advanced, and I recommend you doing some really simple ones, you know, testing them, see how they work, and then kind of going from there. And, you know, when you do click on your welcome, you know, if you want to create a welcome email, you're then able to select which audience it comes through to, and then begin and follow the same email process steps that you did when we were creating an email earlier. So that is MailChimp. It's pretty darn easy to use. It's very flexible, and it's great for beginners looking to, you know, dip their toes into the water of email marketing, that don't want to have to spend all of the time and effort in coding, and, you know, setting up those advanced automations. It's better to start simple and build your way up from there, rather than trying to build out everything all at once, and then you know, popping into the too hard basket, and the next thing you know, you're 6 months down the line and you hadn't done what you wanted to do. So yeah, alrighty, so that is all the time that we do have for today. I will respond to any questions that we have had come through. We do have some questions that I'll quickly touch on now. Alrighty, so the first one is, what is a call to action? I'm sorry, I'm a marketer. I do speak in buzzwords. A call to action is the main goal that you want somebody to do. So, for example, if I wanted to send out an email and I wanted people to register for my event, the call to action would be that button that gets somebody to, you know, sign up. So in my test campaign, for example, that big button that I had in the middle, that's my main call to action. Let's edit this one. All right, I'll just show you what it looks like. All right, so how can I, a second question is, how can I increase my click-through rate once my open rate is very high, but the click-through rate is low? Look, this is the struggle for all marketers, and it's something that you're just going to have to test with different types of content. If your open rate is very high, that's awesome. That means that your subject line is, you know, you're doing a really good job there, and obviously whatever hook that you're grabbing people into is working. You might find if you have a low click-through rate that the content that you're providing to people doesn't match your subject line, or it's too complicated for them to click through to whatever content that you're trying to push them to go to, or maybe you're trying to push a sale on them too hard. Sometimes with subscribers, you'll find that, you know, if you're spamming them or sending them a lot of emails, directing them towards a sale, their interest rate drops lower and lower. It all comes down to understanding your audience a little bit better. What I would suggest that you do is gather feedback. Maybe put up a Facebook post and just, you know, say that you're doing a review of your communications and you're asking for feedback, or reach out to your co-workers, or even reach out to, you know, your high value customers to see, you know, what's not working. It's always better to get feedback and know rather than make assumptions. Okay, so question 3. MailChimp wants access to my whole contact list. How safe is their privacy? MailChimp is probably one of the safest email marketing platforms out there. They are super strict with their security, and they will kick people off if you're not adhering to privacy standards, and you will be barred forever. They are probably one of the most strict platforms with regards to safety and privacy and making sure that you're compliant, particularly, you know, if you market overseas and you have to comply to GDPR, which, you know, if you're in Australia, doesn't adhere to you, but making sure that all you, if somebody unsubscribes, you're not spamming them again and you're not getting in contact with them again, sharing content with third-party platforms. Any email marketing system that you do decide to go with will obviously have access to your contact list. That's just the nature of the beast. It just comes down to, you know, you doing your own research and finding out which ones you feel most comfortable with. You know, if you are wanting to use an Australian owned email marketing software because you want your data to be stored in Australia, you're able to do that. But it kind of comes down to personal preference, to be honest. Question 4, what about using videos in emails? This one's a funny one. So for a lot of email servers, such as Outlook, video won't play in an email. It has been the bugbear of marketers for a long time, and what is best to do when you're looking at who receives your emails? You're able to, in analytics, have a look at which email server is that your customers are on. So whether they're using Outlook, MailChimp, Gmail, not MailChimp, Gmail, Outlook, Hotmail, you know, all of those. All of the online mail servers, such as your Gmails and your Hotmails, most of them will accommodate for video in some form, but because it doesn't play automatically in Outlook and some, you know, if you're using the Mail app on a lot of your computers, I tend to just add in an image, you know, with a button with the little, you know, the play icon, and get people to click through to a video there. That just saves a lot of hassle and confusion, particularly if you don't have people that are able to play your video, you know, in your email. Question 5, and this is our last question for today. If you do have any questions, please email me. I'm happy to answer anything that you have and send you any resources that you need. Can I create a once-off newsletter with images and hyperlinks without MailChimp and copy it into Gmail and send it into multiple recipients without losing the look of the content so as to avoid giving the data to MailChimp? Whoa, creative question. Look, I would advise against it, primarily due to the fact that you're going to start messing with code. When you're looking at, when you build something online, there's 2 main ways that you create content, particularly via email. So the first is called CSS, and that's your styling. So, you know, if you want to make all your buttons pink and you want to make sure that you have a specific font and you have a specific background, this styling part in your email here, this is your CSS. And that can't be transferred over easily over to a different platform like Gmail. Gmail wasn't made to be used in that way. Look, I'm sure there's workarounds. I don't recommend it, but you know, again, it's all up to, you know, your personal preference. What I do recommend, if you are concerned about your system holding your data, is if you have a CRM like you know, Salesforce or HubSpot, for example, you are able to send emails through there. So if you do have you know, that CRM that you're working to, you're able to kind of get around it that way. But what you trade off for that is functionality. So if you are going to look at, you know, putting something in Gmail, you're going to lose all of this styling and a lot of the, you know, the mobile functionality that you might have had in this, you know, in this particular format. Yeah, to be honest, it's a case-by-case basis. So if you're just doing like a, you know, a text email, you know, with 1 or 2 links, that's fine. You know, you can get around it that way. But if you are wanting to do something like this, and you know, you have you know, your content blocks all down here, and then you're looking at 2-column stuff like this, and you're wanting it to be responsive to mobile, I would hedge against it, to be honest. Yeah. That's probably what I'm going to say about that. Okie dokie. So thank you for everybody attending today's webinar. I really appreciate it. We will send out a copy of the webinar recording and slides. I'm happy to answer anyone's questions as well in more detail. Look, I'll do a little bit more research into the Gmail if you'd like, and send off an FAQ about each of these if you'd like. All right, as I said earlier, we do have a webinar series that we are running, so please make sure that you do check our events page for any upcoming webinars. Follow us on Facebook, and also please subscribe to our emails to be informed of the latest topics. Thank you, and enjoy your day.